Welcome everyone. My name is Jim Baan, and I'm going to be covering an overview for you of Enterprise Cyberquery, or eCQ for short, for Infor LN and Baan. Now, just because we're focused on LN and Baan doesn't mean that the product doesn't work with other applications. It does. So pretty much everything I say for LN or Baan is true for Oracle EBS or JD Edwards or Lawson or Sightline or even SAP. And if you have any questions about the demonstration or this overview, feel free to email me or call me, and I'll be happy to help you, including sending you an evaluation copy of the software. So if you like what you see, be happy to send you a free copy of the software, let you play with it for 30 days. Make sure it does work in your environment. Again, my name is Jim Baan, and my phone number is 303-745-3900, extension 6118. Okay, we're going to go through several PowerPoint slides today just to kind of talk about what eCQ is. The agenda today is we're going to talk about typical requirements. What are most users looking for when they look at a product like Enterprise Cyberquery? We'll talk real high level about who is cyber science. We'll spend most of our time talking about Enterprise Cyberquery, or eCQ. And then we've got several other videos that will take you through a demonstration of the software, just how easy is it to drag and drop and create the reports you're looking to create. And then in terms of next steps, again, probably the next logical step would be to schedule a one-on-one demonstration or to send you an evaluation copy of the software. So again, from my contact information, just let me know what will work out best for your organization. Okay, typical user requirements. Everybody that we talk to seems like they're asking for easy access to LN. It might be Baan, but LN is probably more typical now. But they're also saying, in addition to accessing LN, can you access data warehouses or Excel spreadsheets or SQL Server data or other Oracle databases? With eCQ, we can access it all. So whether it's on the separate machine, separate operating system, different database structure, with eCQ you can combine data from multiple sources simultaneously. Even progress and flat files, Microsoft Access, you name it, we can combine it with your LN or Oracle data. Number two requirement is people are saying, okay, I need to do some pretty sophisticated reports, charts, analytics, and then all kinds of BI processes. They want to create forms, things like invoices, purchase orders, bills of lading, shop floor travelers, again, you name it. And then the side that really separates eCQ from a lot of the other packages out there is the whole power and functionality side, where people say, okay, my CFO wants to be able to do income statements and balance sheets, charts of accounts. Again, you can do all that in eCQ. You can build some material, sales analysis. You can access production data and or data mart data simultaneously. And that's important because there's a lot of times, especially manufacturing data, where you may want to summarize some data and then link to that table and relink to it. With eCQ, you can do all of that very easily. Fifth item is dashboards, and I'll show you several different dashboards we've created for customers. And then the sixth thing we hear very frequently is people are looking for a reasonable price. And with eCQ, we try to be very easy to do business with. So we'll talk about pricing as we go along. Okay, top level. Who is cyber science? Cyber science is an easy-to-use reporting tool. Okay, who is Cyber Science? Cyber Science is a privately held software company. We're about 100 people, so we're big enough we'll be around long term, and yet small enough. If you need something added to the software, we can add it within days or weeks. It's not months or years. We have over 4,000 customers worldwide, very financially strong, no debt whatsoever. And we've been in this whole reporting and business intelligence market for over 20 years, so we provide a full solution. Everything from the software, training, consulting. We even have a report library for Baan 4, for Baan 5, and for ERPLN. And that report library consists of probably about 80 different reports that can be used as is or used as a training example. Okay, here's some typical customers using eCQ. And I've color-coded these just to be able to talk a little bit about the history of cyber science. These names in yellow are using eCQ with homegrown or non-specific ERP packages. The names in red are using eCQ with an application called QAD or MFG Pro. And the names in blue are using eCQ with Baan or LN. Now, the reason I mentioned QAD is because it was QAD that we got into the Baan market. About 6 or 7 years ago, one of our bigger divisions that was running eCQ with QAD bought a company that was running Baan. They went out and looked at that new company and said, hey, this is really powerful ERP software, but boy, the reporting tools are terrible. So they came back to us and said, hey, could you build an interface to Baan? So we went out and looked at that site and said, sure enough, yeah, we can build an interface to Baan, and we did. And we immediately sold a half dozen copies of our software just from word-of-mouth marketing. So we said to ourselves, hey, let's go to the next Baan conference, which we did. And we had over 50 companies come up to us and say, hey, I'd like to get a copy of eCQ for Baan. So we've gone from being unknown in the Baan market 6, 7 years ago to where now we're the most widely recommended and selected package out there. And if you like references on any of these customer names in blue, just, again, shoot me an email or give me a call. I'll be happy to get you contact information at any of those companies. Okay, Enterprise Cyberquery is really designed around 3 key areas. Number 1 is ease of use, and that's ease of use whether the user is an executive clicking on a dashboard or an end user who's dragging and dropping fields to build a report, or a power user who wants to slice and dice and drill down through the data, or even a programmer who wants to look at all the code behind the pretty screens. So users can interface with eCQ at any level they choose. They don't have to do everything through drag and drop, and they don't even have to see the syntax if they don't want to. Also, from an administration perspective, you can secure within eCQ all the way down to the Baan table, column, row, and value level. And that's in addition to company and shared company security. You can also secure by user ID or by user group. Most of our users are using Active Directory groups. Second bullet down here is power. Any report you can dream of doing, you can do in eCQ. And I know other packages will make that same claim. So I'm going to show you some examples of reports that people tried to do in other much more expensive packages and couldn't, and then eventually found eCQ. Third bullet is performance. eCQ is server-based. It sits on a Windows, Unix, or Linux server someplace in your environment, accessing your data. You're not picking up your data, moving it to a separate environment. 80% of all reporting we're going against production data. The other 20% will probably be against data marts or cubes. But again, it's all local to your environment. Meaning everything that's saved is saved on a central server. Makes it very easy to share and work together within an organization. The fourth bullet we throw in here is just cost. You can license the software on a perpetual or permanent basis. You can license it annually. You can even license it monthly. And you know the software must be good if we're willing to license it on a month-to-month basis. As a matter of fact, most Baan and LN customers start off by licensing the software monthly, and then they'll upgrade to an annual or perpetual plan. Okay, the next series of slides we're going to go through are just screenshots. So this is a screenshot of what we call the eCQ launch pad. When you build a report, you publish it to the launch pad. This launch pad is completely customizable by you. Your own logos, color schemes, graphics, tree structure, all customizable. You'll notice that all a user needs to use eCQ is a browser. So if your users have Internet Explorer or Firefox or Chrome or even Safari on an iPad or an iPhone, they can use eCQ. Now, reports can either be static or dynamic. This is a dynamic report. As a matter of fact, this report has 2 windows in it. This left-hand window is a selection area where a user can click on an accounting period or even a day within the period And based upon what the user selects in this left-hand window, the main body of the report is going to refresh with that particular set of data. You can resort this report by clicking on a column header. You can output the information to PDF or Excel, or you can drill through the report just by clicking on a customer number in this case. So again, reports can be very dynamic. Here's an example of a report we created that includes a tracking number. The user can click on this tracking number, and eCQ will jump the user from this environment out to the UPS environment. So this report runs nightly and sends each sales rep a report of their shipments for the day. And again, the sales rep is just going to go click, and the system will jump them out to UPS or FedEx, and they can see the exact delivery status of that particular shipment. So again, you're not limited to just data inside of LN or Baan. Here's an example of a form created with eCQ, including the ability to bring in graphics, barcodes, wrapping text. The interesting thing about this particular form is the top 2/3, that information is coming from about 8 different Baan tables. The bottom third, that information is coming from 3 Microsoft Access databases. But eCQ brings it all together, generates this PDF document, draws all the lines, basically prepares everything so this information can be faxed or emailed to the customer. Okay, here's an example of a Kanban card created in eCQ, complete again with barcodes and graphics. Here's an example from one of our customers over in Vietnam. This is an invoice. Here's a purchase order from that same group displaying the value of money actually spelled out. Here's an example of a financial statement by month. Here's a financial statement, current period versus prior year with drill down. Most end users know if they see a blue underscore, they can click on it and they can drill down and get more data. Here's an example of a spreadsheet generated in eCQ. And eCQ's got a great Excel interface. We don't just print to Excel like it was a sheet of paper. We actually output maxes and mins and totals and various formulas like that. We also have an Excel add-in that I'll show you in a minute, where a user can sit inside of Excel and create and modify reports and bring in multiple reports into a single worksheet. And that's what we call the Excel add-in. Okay, here's an example of a complex report. Now this report pulls data out of 22 different LN tables across about 12 companies. Now this report is one I alluded to earlier on. This customer originally bought another much more expensive package to create this report and a series of other reports. This customer spent 6 months working on this report and couldn't do it in that new tool. We met these guys at a trade show, and they came up to us and said, hey, we're looking for something easy to use, but we need something that's got a lot of power. And we said, oh, we've got a lot of power. And the customer said, well, yeah, that's what the last vendor told me. And we said, no, really, we've got a lot of power. So this customer said, okay, tell you what we're going to do. Take this report, come back when you're done. So they gave us this report as a challenge, thinking they'd never see us again. Remember, they couldn't do this report in 6 months with that other tool. With eCQ, we wrote this report in about 2 days. The customer was blown away. They were extremely happy, signed up for the software, and wrote hundreds, if not thousands, of reports. But the story doesn't end there. About 2 years later, Infor came to this customer and said, hey, we just signed a new agreement with another BI vendor. We want all our big customers using this new BI tool, so we're going to give you a free copy of the tool. So this customer said, hey, we like free software, but before we invest a whole lot of time with you, take this report and come back when you're done. So they gave the new guys this report. The new guys went away for 2 months, came back and said, hey, do you have an easier report we could work on? This customer said thanks, but no thanks, and they continue to be one of our biggest LN customers in the UK. Here's an example of a costed and indented bill of material. Here's a bill of material with a routing on top of it. Here's a bill of material represented in a Gantt chart showing the start times of each of the subcomponents. Here's a production order schedule showing % complete. So green is complete, red is remaining. So you can see some of these jobs are complete, some of them haven't started. Some are partially complete. So just a nice representation of what's going on out on the shop floor. And again, these can all have drill down where a user can click and see what's going on with any given job. Here's a real interesting report. This report, this customer calls their hot fab report. This report takes the place of about 20 different spreadsheets. This customer, before eCQ, would take about 2.5 hours each morning running 20 spreadsheets and running through a bunch of macros to generate this information. This is basically an expediting report. What the system does is it goes out there and looks at all the open orders, compares that to inventory on hand, and then figures out where we're missing inventory. It then looks at open jobs to see if there's any jobs for those items, and then tells the user where in the routing process is that job, so the expediters can go out and expedite those jobs. Now, obviously, this is a pretty complex report. It was taking 2.5 hours for this customer to do it by hand. With eCQ, they can now do it in 20 seconds, and they get much more reliable results. They can also drill down to get more levels of information just by clicking on any of these blue underscores. But this report kind of demonstrates eCQ's ability to take a very complex process and break it down into small jobs. So with eCQ, you can have multiple select statements. You don't need to write one select statement that brings in every bit of data. With eCQ, you can do step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, and basically link together, small jobs to make a very complex report like the one you're looking at. Here's an example of the eCQ workbench, where again, something for the end user. They can come in here and click on the work centers they want to look at. They can, bring in more columns or bars. It's just a real interactive way for people to slice and dice and drill down through data. And of course, again, they can click on any of these bars and get more data. Here's an example of an efficiency dashboard we built for a customer. This plant manager wanted to be able to see what was going on in his individual plant. The plant had 8 different work center groups, and the plant manager said, I want to know of any time I have jobs that are over standard. So the green stoplight means that there's no jobs over standard. Yellow means there's one over standard. Red means there's more than one over standard. So the plant manager can come in here and go click on turret and see, okay, here are the work centers within my turret group. Click. Okay, here are the jobs within that work center. And again, whether they're red, green, yellow, and again, click and drill down. And they can go all the way down and see individual job, the standard hours, how many hours have been logged against it, actual hours, and who's logging the hours. So again, they can start off very high with this view. And in fact, they can put this out on a flat screen monitor so people can see what's going on. But people come up and tap the monitor, drill down and look at the work centers within a work center group, then look at the jobs and click all the way on the jobs to see exactly who's logging number of hours. So again, very, very nice environment for this user. And these are just what we call HTML dashboards, just HTML pages. Okay, here's an example of a bullet chart creating an eCQ, again with drill down. They can click and drill down. Here's an interesting scrap dashboard that we did for a LN customer. What they wanted to do is they had 5 machines that they wanted to track, and they're tracking the scrap generated from each one of these machines. And they said for each machine we want to see our top 3 reasons and how the quantity of rejects by that reason have gone over time. So this spans the last quarter or so, and again they can click and drill down on any given day, either from the tabular output here, or they can click on the bar and get to the data. But again, just a sample HTML page right here. Again, they go click and drill down to get the information they want to see. Okay, here's an example of a scorecard-like looking report, again with drill down, yellow, green, orange. Some more bullet charts as well as trend lines. Here's an example of a multi-company accounts receivable report. Again, it shows them accounts receivable over time. They can click on any of these bars or on any of these values to see what's the status of the current accounts receivable by plant. Is by going click and click again to see the details. Okay, there's also a financial report writer module within eCQ that lets the accountants create all their financial statements. And it's a very nice environment where users can pick company, year, period, favorite reports, and again, they just navigate by clicking. They set up their roll-up structure by defining the rules. If you've already got those populated in Baan or LN, we can read those directly from Baan and LN. You define rows and columns, and you combine the two together to generate reports, with drill down or without drill down, however you choose to deploy the information. And again, it's just a click and drill down. Okay, one of the things we're noticing more and more is that people like to take these flat screen monitors and just scatter them around the facility. So as people walk around, they can see what's going on in the sales area or in finance or out on the shop floor. And again, they might have drill down, they may not. These can refresh every 10 seconds or every 5 minutes or 2 minutes or whatever you choose. Here's an example of a chart that combines data from their ERP system, which is in Oracle, as well as the pink information. The pink information is a paid time off system, which is a SQL Server based application, but again, combines the data together to allow this organization to see the workloads. So if you look at the blue is capacity, yellow are release jobs, green are planned jobs. So right here, the plant manager can say, okay, I need to move more workers into my large weld area and maybe out of some of these other areas so that I can meet my capacity requirements. Okay, here's an example of the eCQ dashboard module. Now, the dashboard module is for the sophisticated dashboards where you want to have multiple tabs in your dashboard. Each tab can have multiple pages, and each page can have anywhere from 1 to 12 windows or cells. And users navigate by going click. You can also have a hierarchy within your dashboard for security reasons or just for a different view of your data. But again, to navigate, users go click and drill down, then go click, 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 and just drill down that easily. Okay, here's an example of an output on a tablet. This is an Android tablet, but you can see here's a bar chart, here's a trend line, regular old bar charts, pretty much all your graphics you can do in eCQ. This next slide is a screenshot from the eCQ Excel add-in. What we've found over the years is that there's a group of users that live inside of Excel, and they want all their data delivered to Excel. So this is what the Excel add-in is designed to do. So users can come in here and create reports inside of eCQ, or using eCQ, they can create it inside of Excel. So this particular spreadsheet has 3 Baan reports: the blue, the green, and the gray data. That's all coming directly out of a Baan environment. These charts are just regular Excel charts. This pink area are local variables, and the yellow are local calculations. So again, this gives the user the best of both worlds. It gives them access to all their production data, and yet allows them to do any of their favorite Excel forecasting techniques or calculations, whatever they do. They save this spreadsheet. They can email it. They can do whatever they want with it because it's Excel. They can come back to it next month, pop it open, and say refresh. And assuming the user is a valid Baan or LN user, eCQ will reach back into the system, pull out the data, and refresh the cells without overriding any of the charts or the local variables or calculations. Okay, eCQ is fast. Here's a benchmark we did at a Baan customer in South Carolina. This customer had originally run out of gas with the reporting tool they were using before. They brought in eCQ, and they said, boy, the software seems fast, much faster than we're used to. So let's do a benchmark. So they took 6 of their bigger reports from the old package and rewrote them in eCQ. So you'll see that first report, the old package was taking 180 minutes to run. eCQ ran in 3 minutes. The second report was taking 30. Again, eCQ took 3. On average, we were 22 times faster than the old package that these guys had acquired just a few years earlier. Here's another benchmark compared to another product in the Baan market. We were 25 times faster. We've even done a benchmark against the old Safari product. eCQ was 50 times faster than Safari. So it is super fast. And because it's so fast, there's oftentimes you don't need to create data warehouses and data marts. You can go straight against your production data. Most of our customers, like I mentioned before, are doing the majority of the reports directly off production data. Okay, here's a testimony from a medium-sized manufacturing company called FlexFab. They're out of Grand Rapids, Michigan. The IT manager sent me an email and said, "Hey, Jim, I was pleasantly surprised to see the power of eCQ. We never ran into roadblocks that stymied us for long. We never got into a situation where the answer was, oh, the software doesn't do that, or that's in our next release. eCQ is all the power used in the graphical interface." So that's what you're going to see when you look at the demonstration recordings. So here's how eCQ works with LN. Because again, if you like what you see, we'll just send you a free evaluation copy of the software. You download the software. We'll help you run what we call the Baan toolkit. The Baan toolkit goes out there and looks at your Baan tools tables and builds a custom dictionary for your environment. It brings in all the native and user-friendly table and field names. It goes through the application, figures out the joins, and that's really key because that's what makes it so easy for the end users just to go drag and drop to build a report. Next option is it handles multi-company as well as multiple shared companies automatically. In the same dictionary, you can have multiple databases and or applications. You can also have separate dictionaries for each application. There's no limit to the number of dictionaries you can have. And again, you can combine them all together into one if you choose. The dictionary is nice because it also translates some of the funny data types that Baan uses. For example, the shared companies are automatically translated. Greenwich Mean Time dates translated. Enumerated in text fields. Again, we translate those automatically, and users can just drag and drop fields, and we'll take care of the I/O, reaching out to grab data from these enumerated fields. The reason the system's so fast is we have direct access into Oracle, SQL Server, Progress, Informix, DB2, any ODBC data source like Excel or MySQL. We even support flat files. So again, pretty much any data you're going to run to, you can access with eCQ. The dictionary has an interesting concept called viewpoints. When you run the toolkit for Baan or LN, it's going to create about a dozen viewpoints. There'll be one in there for sales and one for distribution and one for manufacturing, one for finance. And you can secure by those viewpoints or all the way down to the table level. But it's nice because, for example, your salespeople, you may set it up to where they only see 2 or 3 tables. They don't need to see all 3,200 tables in LN. The finance people, they might see 50 or 100. Purchasing might see 10 or 20. But again, it simplifies the number of tables that an end user has to deal with. And we call those viewpoints. Now, probably the most important bullet on this slide is the technical expertise. When you have a question, you can pick up the phone and call your favorite eCQ support rep. You don't need to log a call and wait for us to get back to you. Our people know eCQ inside and out. The average tenure on our support line is about 12 years. They've been around the product a long time. They know eCQ. They also know Baan and LN because they have helped build the demonstration library. And I've had many customers tell me that they wish some of their other ERP vendors had support half as good as eCQ. So it is great support. Okay, in summary, starting down here at the bottom, all the user needs to use eCQ is a browser. From the browser, they're going to connect to the eCQ server. That can be any Windows, Unix, or Linux box. Does not need to be dedicated. Any box where you have some space is a good place to put eCQ. So users are going to connect through the browser to eCQ, and depending on their profile, they may see one company or one table or one VRC. Another user may see multiple tables or multiple companies or multiple VRCs, again, based upon their profile, same server. They may also see other applications, so they may see, LN linked to SAP or Baan linked to MFG Pro or you know, LN linked to Excel, what do they might happen to need. The other nice thing about eCQ is there's a very powerful data mart environment. So complete ETL capability with eCQ. For example, you may want to create a data mart for sales that just really simplifies the view of data for your salespeople. There's some standard financial data marts that come along with eCQ for the accountants. Since everybody's got to create balance sheets and income statements, we've got these data marts that go out there and summarize the data by GL ledger account, by dimension, by time period. So again, users come in here and use these data marts and create their financial statements much more easily than going back to the native tables in Baan or LN. The other nice thing about the eCQ environment is there's a complete scripting or macro environment that surrounds the entire product. So you can build a job that has 50 steps. Step 1 might be to update a data mart. Step 2 might be to run a report. And step 3 might be to email it to these 50 people on your distribution list. So you can have multiple steps. The system has its own scheduling package, so you can schedule these jobs to work anytime you choose. So again, it's a complete and very, very powerful environment. Okay, this is what we mean by the eCQ test drive. Because if you like what you see so far, just send me an email and we'll send you a copy of the software. We'll even help you build your data dictionary. And what we like to do is ask you for 4 or 5 sample reports. Then what we do is we do a kind of a go-to-meeting session with you where we show you how to use eCQ to build those 4 or 5 reports. It's kind of like a little mini training class. We then go away, let you play with the software. You work with it for 30 days. If you like it, you keep it. If you don't, you send it back to us, no charge. So, the eCQ test drive is very nice and really takes all the risk out of acquiring new software. So again, if you want a test drive, just send me an email. Here's my contact information. And the best way to contact me is probably through email or the phone number. But I appreciate your time and look forward to hearing from you.